Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today is a much long-awaited video. I'm going to be reviewing our very first year with Classical Conversations in a Community. Before we get started, it's loud in my house, so just bear with me. Before we get started, I wanted to show you the shirt that I'm wearing. It says, "Just an ordinary mom trying not to raise communists." This got a lot of attention on my Instagram. I got it from Primer & Co. They are actually a Classical Conversations family. It's a homeschool family, and they make Pro 2A Second Amendment apparel and accessories and really cute stuff. I actually got Mike a shirt that says, "For Father's Day, just an ordinary dad trying not to raise communists." And I thought, I can't order him one and not get one for me. So I did. So I got one for both of us. I am wearing a medium. I like my shirts just a little bit baggy, and I think it fits perfectly. I love it. It's soft and comfy. Highly recommend. 10 stars, if I could give it stars. But let's jump into today's video. If you're new here, be sure to click that subscribe button. I am a mom of 2 boys. They will be in 3rd grade and 1st grade. So this year that I'm going to talk about was kindergarten and 2nd grade. And this past year was our 3rd year of homeschooling. Yeah. And it was our first year doing Classical Conversations. Now, the reason why I chose Classical Conversations was because I really love how it's taught. I love the content of what's taught. But another thing, and probably a big reason, was that my boys are only 2 years apart, and they're very capable of learning the same thing just on different levels. And I really liked the idea of taking them someplace once a week, and they can be taught the same thing. They can learn it together. I can learn it with them because parents are in the class when you go to a community. And I just really loved it. I love the content. I love history. I think that's the main thing. I love history. And that's kind of the main concept with CC, at least on the foundations level. And so that meant it kind of streamlined history, science, grammar, geography. It streamlined all of that for me. Latin, a little bit math. So I didn't have to do these subjects with this boy and then these subjects with this boy. They could learn all of the things together. And I mean, it's great. It's great. And I could take them to one place once a week and again, learn with them. Amazing. Okay. I would say though, I want to be kind and I want to be nice in how I put this. I was not incredibly impressed with our particular community. There were a couple of reasons, and I don't really want to get into it. Both of my boys actually had great tutors, especially Caleb's. Caleb's tutor, I would sit in on his class. Braden's tutor did a great job, but she also had 6 kids in there who were 4 to 6 years old, learning like geography. They were learning like the rivers in Europe, and in my opinion, 4, 5, and 6-year-olds, that's not important. It's just not. I would never put a 4-year-old, and never put a 4-year-old in that. Barely even put a 5-year-old in there. Braden was he was a few weeks from turning 6 when we started it. And that's probably a whole nother conversation. I think some of this stuff is just way too, for the cost of Classical Conversations, I think it's way too advanced for them. I think it's, again, totally my opinion. I think it's a waste of time to put a 4 or maybe even a 5-year-old, newly turned 5-year-old in CC. I mean, if they've got older siblings in it, you just want to put them into, that's fine. But Braden, I think, was at the earliest, the youngest that you could get and still gain something from this. But I was in Caleb's class. That was the class that I sat in. And I think Caleb was the youngest at just turned 8. And I think the oldest was 10 or 11. And they were a great group of kids. I mean, they were an awesome group of kids, and they had fun. And I mean, they made it fun. His tutor was awesome. She had all the fun songs and games and stuff like that just made it really good. But that being said, there were just, I didn't really look forward to community. Like, I had heard some people just rave about going to community, and it's community day, and yay, and I get to see all my friends and everything. And I do have, you know, a lot of friends there, but I don't know. I just kept looking for the cost. It's gonna vary by location, but just so you know, and I know there are a lot of things that are way more expensive, but this was just a lot for us. For both of the kids to go in 1 year of just foundations, which is the lower grade, it costs, with everything, it was maybe like $1,100, maybe $1,200 with books. The good thing is, this foundations guide was $99, like, woo, for this book. But this book has all of the information that we need for all 3 years of foundations. And based on my kids, they're gonna go through cycle 1, 2, and 3 several times, just because we started them young. So like this thing got us through, it will get us through all 3 cycles. Just kind of yank out here, like these maps for cycle 2, we'll use these again. So I won't have to buy these again when we do cycle 2 again. So all of the materials that I get, because they're almost all of them are reusable. Really only the handwriting books are consumable. And so I'm not gonna have to buy a bunch of, so the cost of books and stuff is really not that much, but the cost of tuition, that was just a lot. And once we got into it, this was the thing that I guess I was surprised about, and maybe I just didn't do my research. But when we would go to community, and this is how it is everywhere, okay? This is not just my community. When you go into a community, you go into your individual classes, and I love they keep the class sizes small. I think there were 6 in both of my boys' classes. And they put them with their friends, you know, who are about their age. You can request, can so-and-so be with so-and-so? Or I told them, you cannot have my boys in the same room. Like, it will not be good. Nothing good can come from that. Just trust me. And I thought when we would go there, we would be introduced to the new memory work, or the new grammar is what they call it, the new material for the next week. And when it came to stuff like the history and the Latin and the math and the, you know, like all of these things, I thought we were gonna get like a lesson. Okay, let me turn to cycle 2. Okay, let's just turn cycle 2, week 3. The history sentence is, Richard the Lion-Hearted, son of Eleanor of Aquitaine, fought the Turks for Jerusalem during the time of the Crusades from, 1095 to 1291. See, this one she remembers. So, okay, so I thought maybe we'll get even a 10-minute summary of who was Richard the Lion-Hearted. I thought maybe, you know, open a book and say, you know, this was Richard the Lion-Hearted, and this was Eleanor of Aquitaine, and why did they, what was the point of the crusade? No, none of that. I thought there would be some sort of instruction, but really you just show up and they introduce you to the things that are in the book and then teach you songs and motions and stuff like that. But the concepts were not actually taught. And I was like, okay. So what I ended up doing, once I kind of figured out what our week was going to look like, once we got into CC a little bit more, what I would do is on Sunday afternoon, that's when I do all my errands. That's when I go to the grocery store. That's when I would go to the library, and I would just bring my foundations guide, and I would look at what are we doing for history, science, geography, fine arts sometimes, or even the timeline. And I would just, for like 1 week and maybe even 2 weeks, depending on what I was able to find. And I would just get a bunch of books, and during the week we would watch videos, we would read those books, because they always say, you know, that I'm the teacher. I'm the teacher. And so, in which I was prepared to do. I was prepared to teach these things during the week. I just thought it was going to be a little bit more than, hey, here's a new sentence for you to learn, with no instruction whatsoever. And for the cost, I was just flabbergasted. absolutely flabbergasted. So, it was good for socialization. It was great for socialization, actually. But when it came time to deciding how we were going to spend our money this year on curriculum, I thought, I'm not going to spend all that money to have someone else just repeat information to my kid. There are so many resources online. Let me show you. I showed this in my video about what we're using for homeschool this year, but this, for example, this is a digital download from Amy Snyder Design on Etsy, and it's a CC mom who has gone through and taken all of the memory work and made these beautiful, beautiful pictures. I mean, oops, sorry. She drew that. She drew that, y'all. And I know, right? I have a little person behind the camera again. And so I'm hoping that this is something that will kind of be just another resource to help me teach it at home. But I just, for the cost, I can go to the library and teach these things to my kiddos. I don't need someone to just repeat something. So anyway, I mean, we will probably join a community again at some point. Things change all the time. But for this year, I decided we're just gonna do it from home. And I know there are a lot of videos of how people do it from home. Maybe once we get into a rhythm, I can make a video about how we do it. I did do a video back in like February, this is before all the pandemic hit, and I did a video about how we organize the memory work, how I have it set up, and I'm planning on doing the exact same thing this year, especially because those last, 4 weeks or so, I had to do it from home anyway, and I couldn't go to the library, so I had to get extra creative. But yeah, so anyway, I hope that is helpful. Know that my community experience is going to be different from every other person's community experience, but the summary is that for the cost and what you get and the fact that I was kind of meh about our community last year, we just decided not to fork over the cash. I know that there are a lot of other options that we have. There's another, it's kind of based from classical conversations. It's also a classical thing, but it's all day, and it costs $1,000 a year per student. So last year we paid a little over $1,000 for both kids to go. This other one that I looked at was $1,000 per student, and I'm like, if you haven't started homeschooling yet, let me tell you, one of the greatest joys that I've gotten out of this is filling in all the gaps in my education. I was homeschooled. Everybody is going to have gaps in their education, no matter where you went. And this is advice that I got. Maybe we're getting off track here, but some advice, probably the best advice that I've ever gotten about homeschooling is that there are going to be gaps on everyone's education, including your kids, because nobody knows everything. And so this is a great time, you know, you can redeem your own education with learning alongside your kids. So anyway, I hope that was helpful for you. Just take my review with a grain of salt. It was my opinion and my experience, but just as of this year, we will not be participating in a community, even though the curriculum of Classical Conversations, I am in love. I love it. I hope this was helpful for those of you who are maybe trying to, you know, make a decision. Talk to people. If you haven't done so already, if you're able to visit a community, that's really good to give you kind of a feel for it. Highly recommend doing that before you fork over all the cash. So I hope you are having a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.